Most people walk past janitors without ever really seeing them. They're just part of the background, quiet, unnoticed, invisible in the rush of everyday life. But on a cold winter night in Boston, a powerful CEO named Olivia Carter learned that sometimes the people we overlook carry the heaviest stories, and the biggest hearts. And in her case, one quiet act of kindness would lead her to a man who changed her life and eventually became her husband. He was a janitor. Or at least, that's who she thought he was. What she didn't know was that he used to be one of the most elite Special Forces commanders in the entire US military. Before we get into the story, take a moment to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoy powerful, emotional life lessons. Your support helps us grow our community here at your channel name. Now, let's begin. Olivia Carter was the kind of leader people respected from afar. Elegant, sharp, unstoppable, she built her tech company from the ground up, and by 36, she was on the cover of business magazines. But success came with sacrifice. Long nights. Stress that never seemed to fade. And a constant feeling she had to appear strong, no matter how heavy her responsibilities became. One night, after an exhausting board meeting, Olivia stayed late to finish paperwork. The office was silent except for the soft hum of the air system. She rubbed her eyes, feeling a headache creeping in. That's when she heard a gentle knock on her door. "Ma'am? Are you okay?" She looked up to see Daniel, the new janitor. Mid-40s. Calm eyes. Kind smile. Always polite. He usually worked quietly in the background, emptying trash and wiping surfaces with almost military precision. She had barely spoken to him before. "I'm fine," she said, trying to smile. "Just a long day." Daniel looked at her for a moment, then placed a disposable cup of hot tea on her desk. "Chamomile. Helps with stress. You look like you need it." Olivia blinked. Most people in her life expected something from her. Advice. Approval. A signature. But here was someone who barely knew her, offering simple kindness with nothing to gain. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded and walked out, leaving her momentarily stunned. That small gesture stayed with her. The next night, he did the same. Some nights it was tea, other nights it was just a warm smile or a simple, "Hope tomorrow is kinder to you." It was odd, comforting, but odd. There was something different about him. The way he walked. The way he carried himself. As if he was always aware of the room, always alert, always ready for something. He didn't move like a janitor. He moved like someone trained, someone disciplined. But Olivia didn't pry. She was simply grateful. Weeks passed, and one evening, when she broke down in her office after a painful argument with an investor, Daniel walked in at the exact moment she tried to wipe her tears. "Ma'am. You don't have to pretend in front of me." Olivia looked away. "I'm the CEO. I don't get to fall apart." Daniel stepped closer, but respectfully. "Everyone gets to fall apart. Even the strongest leaders." She stared at him, surprised by the strength and certainty in his voice. "Can I share something?" he asked. She nodded. "There was a time when I led men into situations where everyone looked to me for strength. And I learned that real leadership isn't about never breaking, it's about having the courage to get back up." Olivia froze. It was the first hint that he had a past far deeper than she imagined. "You were in the military?" she asked gently. He smiled slightly. "Something like that." He didn't say more, and she didn't push. But that moment changed something between them. They talked more over the next few weeks. About life. Stress. Family. Dreams. Daniel was humble, but he carried a quiet wisdom that touched her deeply. He listened the way few people ever had. And for the first time in years, Olivia felt seen not as a CEO, not as a business icon, but as a human being. One night, as a snowstorm hit the city, Daniel walked her to her car, holding an umbrella over her. "Janitors don't usually escort CEOs," she joked softly. "Tonight they do," he said with a playful smile. It was the first time she saw him laugh, and something warm sparked between them. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. They kept talking, sharing, laughing. Slowly, what began as simple kindness turned into friendship, then something neither of them dared to name. One night, Daniel finally opened up. "I wasn't always a janitor," he began quietly. "You don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to share," she said softly. He took a deep breath. "I was a Special Forces commander. I led a team of 12 men. Some missions I can't talk about. Some I'll never forget." Olivia's heart pounded. "What happened?" she whispered. "There was an ambush overseas," he said, his voice tight. "We lost 4 men. Good men. I made it out alive, but not all of me came back." He paused. "I left the military after that. I needed simplicity. A life where I didn't have to carry the weight of the world anymore." Olivia felt tears in her eyes. "Daniel. I'm so sorry." He nodded. "Being a janitor might seem strange for someone with my background. But cleaning floors, emptying trash, it's honest work. And sometimes the quiet is healing." Olivia reached for his hand. "Thank you for telling me." Something changed after that night. Their bond deepened. They spent time outside work, coffee, long talks, walks in the park. Daniel showed a gentle humor she had never noticed. Olivia showed a vulnerable side she rarely revealed. They grew closer, naturally, quietly, beautifully. Eventually, they began dating, privately at first, aware of how people would talk. A CEO and a janitor? People would judge. But Olivia didn't care. Daniel made her feel grounded, loved, understood. And Daniel, who had once lost faith in himself, found purpose and hope again through her kindness. Their relationship wasn't about status. It wasn't about titles. It was simply about 2 people who healed each other through compassion. A year later, on a warm spring evening, Daniel proposed at a small lakeside park. No big crowd. No cameras. Just the 2 of them, standing under a sky full of stars. "I fell in love with you because you saw me," he said. "Not who I used to be. Not what I've been through. Just me." Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she said yes. When they got married, the news spread across the corporate world. People were stunned. Some judged. Some admired. But Olivia didn't care. She walked down the aisle toward the man who had once quietly swept floors outside her office, the man whose kindness had changed her life, the man who had survived unimaginable battles yet remained gentle enough to bring her tea on her hardest days. In time, Daniel became more open about his past. He began mentoring veterans struggling to transition to civilian life. Olivia supported him wholeheartedly. Together they built programs to help veterans find jobs, counseling, and community. Their story became an example of how kindness can change everything, not just for one person, but for many. Years later, during a speech at a veterans charity event, Olivia shared something that left the room silent. "One night," she said softly, "a janitor offered me a cup of tea. It was simple. Small. Maybe even insignificant. But it came from kindness. And that kindness led me to the love of my life." Never underestimate how a single act of compassion can change someone's entire path. Daniel squeezed her hand as she sat down. She looked at him, her heart full. He had lost so much in his past, but together they had built something extraordinary. Their lives weren't perfect, no one's ever is, but they were full. Full of gratitude. Full of love. Full of purpose. And it all began with kindness. Because sometimes, the strongest people are the ones who move quietly in the background. Sometimes the people we overlook carry the deepest stories. And sometimes the greatest love stories begin with a cup of tea offered on a stressful night. In the end, Olivia and Daniel's journey teaches us one powerful truth: kindness doesn't cost anything, but its impact is priceless. It can save a life, heal a heart, or even create a love story no one saw coming. So today, and every day, choose